Whew, took me a while to hit that go live button. Took me a minute. I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all know right now this is gonna be long, and a lot of y'all are gonna get bored with it because it's not an entertaining topic, but it's one that I felt the need to do in case this is your first time. I'm gonna stumble over my words, y'all. I'm gonna tell y'all right now because this is an emotional subject. But I'm Kim out of Pooler, Georgia, and it is a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day, as you can see. The weather's great, so I just thought I would come out here. I thought this environment would give me some peace as I discuss something quite disturbing. So I do not know how many of you recently saw the video that is circulating around the internet right now, but there was a gentleman who killed his ex-girlfriend and then went to his wife's house, killed his ex-wife. I shouldn't have called her his wife. He went to his ex-wife's house, killed his ex-wife, and then he turned the gun on himself and committed suicide. And a lot of people are talking about that video. I saw because he talked about it on Facebook Live before he did it. I saw it. It triggered me for sure. And I saw people in the comments, and I had to stop reading. I know better than to read the comments. So I stopped reading the comments. But what it actually ended up, seeing that video, you guys know I have not been doing a lot of videos. That's because a lot has been going on personally. And so I just take the time. I've never liked to feel like a slave to social media, but I take the time to digest. When I know I need to back away, I back away. And definitely I've been backing away, right? But I definitely 100% feel the need to talk about the subject. A lot of people have commented on the subject. So instead of me commenting on, because I don't know him, I don't know the ex-wife, I don't know the ex-girlfriend, I don't know any of them, right? So I'm not going to comment on that subject because I'm not the person to do that, okay? And so instead of doing that, which would be completely counterproductive and do nothing but stimulate, man versus woman on social media, which I'm so tired of that. Instead of doing that, what I'm going to talk about is some do's and don'ts for people who find themselves in domestic violence situations. And even if you don't find yourself in this situation, I really hope that you'll watch so that you can share this with someone who is. And trust me, y'all have people that that are in these situations, even if you don't know it. And I really want to do this video more so to give you something to think about, because not if, but when a friend or family member comes to you and they express that they're in this predicament, I want to give you some things to think about, and definitely some things to share with them. So I'm just going to go through a list, and I had to write down some notes because when you talk about something emotional, it's easy to forget the main points that you wanted to make, right? But I wrote down some notes, a lot, about some do's and don'ts if you find yourself in that situation, or if a family member or a friend of yours finds yourself in that situation. And the timeliness of this is so important because we're coming up to the holidays, and the holidays are supposed, people say happy holidays, but I want y'all to understand, for a lot of people, it's going to be scary holidays, because when you, for a lot of people, work, school, those are escapes from their home situation. A lot of people do not like coming home. So if they're in the house with their abuser, then the holidays are very scary for them. If they're not in the house with their abuser, right? This is the time when a lot of people who have divorced or separated meet up to exchange the kids. Again, this is a scary time because sometimes the person who is not the primary parent feels resentment to that other person for destroying their family or whatever narrative they've made up in their head. Other times, the person who is the primary parent feels resentment for the same thing, for the other party destroying their family or treating them badly. So a lot of times at these exchanges, stuff can go down. So I really, the holidays is not happy for everybody. So I just, like I said, I'm going to run through this as quickly as possible, but I really want you to think about it, not trying to be Debbie Downer, but it's a very, very real thing, okay? So let's go through, and let me say this right quick. Let me say this really, really quickly. I am not pro-woman and a male basher. domestic violence goes both ways. Okay, so when I speak on these things, I might reference it from the point of view of a woman. That's why, because I am a woman, right? So I might say he in reference to he being the abuser, but I fully am aware that that's not always the case. Sometimes it's the woman that's the abuser. As a matter of fact, I will share with you on a personal level. I personally know of two situations, very different situations, but two situations where one abuser was a man and one abuser was a woman. One of those situations was I don't remember what grade I was in, but I remember one of my classmates who also it was my sister's classmate, really, and one of my schoolmates, I should have said, but we all went to the same after school care, and I remember being very, very young. I was in middle school, whatever. Being very young. I don't want to get tied up. I'm sorry, y'all. But I remember being very young and finding out one day that her mother, who always came to pick them up, the mother, it was two kids. The mother who always came to pick them up, she hadn't died. She was murdered by her husband, who was a police officer. Okay? And so that shook me from a very young age, that somebody who I used to see come in every day and pick up two kids that I went to school with was killed by her husband, who was a police officer. Like, what the hell, you know? And then another situation, and this is little Savannah, so that was big news. But more importantly, it wasn't just big news, but it was personal. It was personal to me and my family, because it just really, you know, shook us. That was unbelievable. So that was my first, like, not my first reality with domestic violence, but that was my first sneak peek into how deep it could really go, right? Ending a life. So that's where the male was an abuser. Conversely, though, when I got older in high school, I remember this gentleman. He was not a friend of mine, but he was a friend of my little sister's, and he was murdered. He was killed. He was the subject of a snapped episode because he cheated on his girlfriend. The girlfriend went to the other woman's house, and she ended up shooting him, and he subsequently died. And this is a snapped episode. So in one situation, these are people that I personally knew of. I don't know them like we had a close relationship, but I knew of. So in one situation, a woman was murdered. In another situation, the man was murdered. What is my point? My point is, anybody can be in a situation with someone who loses it. So I'm not male bashing here, because it can go either way. All right. So now that we have that out of the way, let's go into some do's. All right. Okay. I didn't write these in any particular order, but I will say this. Like, if you find yourself, or if you know of somebody that is in that situation, please, like, prayer is good, but they need some actionable items. Okay? So if you find somebody in that situation, somebody confides in you, you have any inkling, because you see that the person that they're with has a short temper, you've been privy to it, or you just have an instinct, please start making them aware of these things. Okay? I would say, from my experience, some of the things you want to do when you find yourself in this situation is you definitely want to start stashing your cash, right? Even if you have to get a bank account in another family member's name and somebody else's name that you trust. How you stash your cash, man, it really depends. It's different for different people. There are some people that are in situations, and the person they're with is so restrictive, they take all of their money. Now, those are really, really hard, but you have to get creative. You have to do what you have to do, because one thing I find that a lot of women who do not leave, one reason why is because of the money. And so you gotta, it's never gonna get better. Okay? So you gotta start stashing your cash. I know of one woman who she would literally, like, and it took a long time for her to do this because it was a slow way, but she didn't have a job. All of the money came through him. There was no extra money. She didn't get like a little stipend for extra stuff, but she would do, and he monitored like the receipts or whatever. So what she would do is she would like get the money from the grocery store, meaning she would go buy groceries for her and the kids, and then go back to the grocery store a few days later return some items and ask them, instead of putting it on a card, can you give it to me in cash? And she literally did a trickle. She had to get, her funds $10 and $20 at a time, which is painful. It took her a long time to do that, but it's better than nothing. That was the only way that she could get money, right? But you have to do what you have to do. So definitely get a bank account, because you will need money. The reality of the situation is you will need money. Make copies of documents. Oh my gosh, this is so big. Make copies of documents, get recordings of things, take pictures. Too often people, I think because what they do is they go into shock when it happens to them, when they find themselves in that situation by somebody that they love, and they're like, I never thought this would be me. I never thought I would be that person. I never thought he or she would do this. They go into denial, okay? And they act like this didn't happen. That is the worst thing you can do. It did happen. So take your pictures immediately. Don't wait a few days. Once you know, once it happens, like you have to get out, and you have to get out, take documents, take pictures of the person's social security number. Like if you're married and you know that there's things that you're going to have to split, get their social security. Nothing is worse than like going through a divorce and a domestic violence situation, and now you trying to ask the person, hey, what's your social? They're not going to give it to you, right? So any of those things that you need, you have to not be emotional, and that sounds like it's impossible, but you really got to put you got to put your emotions to the side and plan and prepare. So take pictures, get the documents, copies of the documents that you need. The good thing is nowadays it's easier than ever, because you can do everything on your phone, and when you get those documents, immediately upload them to like a Google Drive or some place where you can access them from anywhere. Because when you go to court, when you go to meet with your lawyer, when you go to meet with whoever you need to meet with, they're going to ask you for these things, and you don't want to have to run back to the house and get them, or say like time is of the essence. So you don't want to be disheveled, unorganized. Get those documents, upload them, have your proof, and do it and if you're not in a state where you can record things, keep a journal. Keep a journal. On this day this happened, on that day that happened, and have everything in a timeline, because when you go up against this person, that's what the law is going to ask you for. What's the timeline of events? What proof do you have? And the person could be the worst person in the world, but if you don't have any proof, you will be in a worse situation, because you don't have any proof. So then it's your word versus their word, and now you probably won't get that restraining order, or you won't get whatever it is you need to keep the person away from you, and you've enraged them by even attempting to. So you want to get your research and your documents all in order. I would definitely say, in doing your research too, research shelters. Like a lot of people, and this is again men and women, a lot of people do not leave a bad situation because in their mind, like, I ain't gonna live in no shelter. And sometimes they're in a big house, sometimes they're it doesn't matter. People just make up these stories in their head that things are going to be worse. I will say this, and by the way, if you're a family member or a friend of mine, please do not give me your commentary on what I'm saying right now, because that will get you just blocked from my page. If you want to speak on what I'm saying, go to your page and then talk about, I can't believe Kim spoke about this, okay? But the thing that I hate about this situation is that not enough people talk about it until a person is dead, or until a person is incapacitated, and then they're like, oh, I wish they would have told me. What would you gonna do? And do people get shunned for talking about this stuff? Oftentimes they do, and that's why people don't talk about it, and that's why family members and friends don't find out until it's much too late. Okay, so going back to what I said, shelters. Research shelters, okay? There are so many shelters. There are places that you can go. Some are better than others, admittedly. You said thank you. I wasn't looking at the comments, but I just saw, like, a lot of people have come and left because this is not a happy topic. But I just saw someone said, thank you for sharing this. Thank you for listening. But shelters, research shelters. When my mom left my dad, we went to a battered woman shelter. And I will tell you this. Now, I can't speak for my sister and brother because I'm not them, right? But with me being the oldest, I was happy. I wasn't happy, but I was relieved. I was relieved to go to the battered woman shelter. My mom did her dang on thing. She found a good place for us. Now, was everything nice? No. It was, I equate it to camp. Because we shared a room, of course, with a whole bunch of other women and a whole bunch of other kids. And so, and I don't remember everything about it. I think that's my way of like kind of blocking out certain things. But I do remember, like, first of all, it felt good not to hide the secret. Everybody in that situation, everybody in that shelter was in the same situation as us. So, you know, my mom had counselors to talk to. We had counselors to talk to. You know, where there's some negatives, yeah, when you live in a shelter, you cannot eat what you want to. You eat what is ever on the menu, and you eat. Everybody eats at the same time. You can't have your friends call. People can't know where you are. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, my friends at the time, they didn't know we were living in a shelter, and that wasn't something that I volunteered. So while they're having slumber parties or whatever, I can't go to the slumber party because I have to be in the shelter by a certain time. You have to sign in and you have to sign out. However, all things considered, when you don't have to worry about somebody coming in and going off, when you have just the peace of mind was worth it. Like for me. Like I said, I can't speak for my sister and brother, and I can't even speak for my mom, but it was worth it. And I think it was very brave of my mom to do that, because what was the alternative? The alternative was staying there. And we already saw what that got. So, you know, shelters, you know, remove the stigma that you have associated with a shelter. Look into the shelters in your area, and it's a transition home more so. You don't have to stay in a shelter forever. You know what I'm saying? But for some people, a shelter could literally save their life, okay? Get representation no matter the cost. Okay, this is so huge and so important, and it goes back to like people being emotional. When you're going through the situation, you can't think straight. You are still trying to figure out in your head, is there something that I did to make them do this to me? Maybe if I had done this, they wouldn't have done that. And you're really not in your right mind. Oftentimes, if it's physical abuse, that has been accompanied by emotional and verbal abuse. And woo! Oftentimes it's been many times. Trust me, y'all, there are not a lot of people who just out the gate hit you, okay? Otherwise they wouldn't get that far with you, right? So oftentimes there's a period of grooming where the man or woman tells you all these great things, makes you feel special, and then, you know, comes the abuse. And by that time it is you're in so deep that you're like, I'm not going to leave this person. Like, they didn't mean to do it. I bet they won't do it again, or whatever the case may be. And I'm telling you, that's not the truth, okay? So what you need to do is when you make a decision to leave, you have to get representation, because the lawyer or whatever legal counsel you get, they can think for you. They can fill out those forms for you. It is so important. So many cases get thrown out because people don't do things in a timely manner, or they don't do things the right way. And then again, you have to think about the repercussions of what you do. If you're not really going to do it the right way and follow all the way through, you've just enraged the person who is abusing you, and you now have no protection. So that is not the situation that you want to find yourself in. Aside from that, there are so many women who are like, you know, I'm just going to up and leave, and I'm not going to worry about this, or I'm not going to worry about that. God's got me. And God does have you. However, a lot of the stuff that women or men forfeit from the other person, it's not even your stuff, it's your children's stuff. So if money is due to you or your children, you don't even have the right to say, I'm not going to pursue this. That's due to your child. And when you leave and you're starting to rebuild, as you rebuild your life, you don't want to work 2, 3, 4 jobs because you didn't get what was rightfully due, not to you, but to your children. And in some cases to you too, in the case of like married or spousal support or anything like that, right? So because that creates a whole nother situation. Most times if you've been in an abusive situation, your children have probably witnessed it, or they have an idea. Now, if you're breaking that home apart, well, you're not breaking that home apart, excuse me, but if the home is being broken apart, and now one parent is going with the children are going with one parent or one person, and now that person has to rebuild, they're probably going to be out of the house a lot. You don't want to be out of the house more than what you have to be, simply because you made a foolish mistake by not getting all of the funds that you were entitled to. Does that make sense? This leads to a whole nother plethora of situations, because your children are going to need help, you're going to need help, and if you're working like a madman, you're not going to be able to get that help mentally, okay, in the form of counseling. So definitely get representation. Is it easy to get representation? No, it's not. I remember I was making I was making less than $13 an hour, and I was told that I made too much money for assistance from the government. I couldn't believe it. I was like, how can I be making less than $13 an hour, and that's too much money? So guess what? I didn't give up. I had to go out there and find another way to get the money to get the representation. And I'm so happy that I did, because again, there were things that my lawyer thought of that I couldn't think of. There were forms that she filed that I wouldn't have known how to file with the court. And I wouldn't have even wanted to keep going back up to the court over and over again to do that. There were so many things involved in that situation, in that process, that I don't even fully remember everything, because again, I have a wonderful power to disassociate myself from things that I went through as a child. So I don't even fully remember everything. It's like a blur. But I'm happy that I had the presence of my lawyer to come into court and be that factor, to act on my behalf, to speak on my behalf, to prep me for how to even deal with my judge, because different judges function different ways. So representation is so important. I don't care if you have to borrow money. I'm telling you right now, do it, because it will so be worth it. All right. We're still on the do's. I will say this: do know how to use a gun if you have a gun. And I'm a gun advocate. I strongly suggest people, not just women, men, whoever, get a firearm, but know how to use it. Know how to clean it. Know, because then if you don't know those things, the gun is just as deadly to you as it is to the person that it's supposed to be used for, in the event that you have to use it, right? And also study guns. Find the one that is right for you. The one that I have currently is not a good fit for me, so I have to get another one, and I have to go to the gun range here in Savannah and go through that whole entire process again, because it's been a while, and that does me no good, right? So if you have a gun, know how to use a gun. All right. Also, and most women or men will not do this until after the situation, but because I'm telling y'all right now, I'm telling y'all how this works. Like, you always think it could never be you, because I remember thinking that. I remember watching my mom and dad, and I remember being like, this will never be me. I will hit him upside his head with a skillet. I'll throw hot grits on him. I'll do this. I'll do that. If the minute a man puts his hands on me, I'll But I'm telling you right now, if it ever happens, which I hope it never happens to anybody that's watching it, but if it ever happens to you, all that trash talking goes out the window. You are so shocked. You are so stunned. You are so in disbelief that it happened to you that you freeze up. You don't do anything. Oftentimes, you don't fight back. You don't have all this bravado. You don't hit him upside the head. No, you're just, half the time you're just sitting there looking stupid, and it's like a out of body experience. Like, the minute they put their hands on you, it's like ghosts. It's like you come out of your body, and you're sitting there looking at yourself and looking at the whole damn thing happen, and you're screaming to yourself like, do something, do all that, but your physical body is frozen, so you do nothing. So it's a weird experience. Hopefully none of y'all have gone through that. But once you go through it, though, now you're aware that it can actually happen. So I strongly encourage you to somebody's agreeing with me and says so true. Exactly. You know, it's weird. So once you go through that, definitely get yourself in self-defense classes, so that there are a few things that you can work on and practice. Even when I'm watching my son do his karate classes, I look at some of the things that they're saying, and I'm like, okay, how should I be practicing myself as far as defensive tactics and methods and ways to transition if somebody grabs you a certain way, how you can break away, right? So definitely encourage you to do that. So those were a lot of do's, and I'll come back later and actually give you some do's for the friends. But let's talk about some don'ts, y'all. Okay, and I know we're in like 25 minutes. This is a long subject. I don't always get on here to entertain y'all. I have to keep it real with y'all. I have to keep it real with y'all. So let's talk about some don'ts. If you, a family member or a friend, find yourself in this situation, don't, ooh, Lord, don't go back. Don't go back. You have to commit. Once you've made a decision to leave, please, please, please commit to that decision. And I would say, like, one of the hardest thing is like going to get a restraining order. When you go to get a restraining order, that, you know, there's no privacy involved in that. There's no, it's not like what you think it will be, because you, half the time you don't even have a reference for that. But usually you're corralled in a room with everybody else who's getting their restraining orders, men and women alike. It's very sterile. It's very, you fill out your paperwork, your business all out there. If you're in a small town, Jesus, you're wondering if somebody that you know is going to come walking in. You're wondering if somebody is going to see you. You're in your head at the moment that you file a restraining order. You know for a fact, like, your relationship with this person is never, ever, 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 ever going to be the same again. And you feel, again, you go through that cycle of, did I do something to deserve this? Maybe if I hadn't done, what if that night had never happened? And then you start reliving all of the good times with them, and you're wondering, let me tell you something. Go through with it. I myself walked out the first time, and it was hard to go back to actually file it, but I did, and I'm glad I did. Okay? So regardless of how hard it is, file that restraining order. If you find once a person has violated you physically, or you know, I'm speaking in terms of physically, but there are other ways too, right? But file that restraining order. And again, I'm saying this for men as well as women. Okay, because a lot of men who abuse women will say, y'all don't know what she did to me before that. She been talking to me crazy and shit. There's no reason to put your hands on somebody. If that's the way you feel, get away from that person. Distance yourself. So, again, when I filed, there were men down there filing as well. It does not make you weak. It makes you smart. But be prepared that nobody's going to handle you with kid gloves. There are a lot of people who file restraining orders out of spite, right? And so the people that are taking your paperwork, they know that. So they don't know if you're the real deal or not. So don't expect them to handle you a certain way. They're just there to do a job, and you have to be prepared for that as well. All right. So, but once you make that decision, please go through with it. Do not have proof. I already talked about this in the do's. Have your documents. Have your timelines. Have what you're going to say. Don't act like this is Jerry Springer. It is not. It's very cut and dry. There are so many domestic violence cases that are reported, and there are so many others that are not. So the people that you're going to be dealing with as you go through this process, they're very methodical. They are there to do a job. When they ask you a question, give them the answer. No extra sauce. Okay? And I'm not being rude. I'm just telling you that's what it is. That is really what it is. Don't not get therapy. Oh Lord. Whew. And definitely you got to get your children therapy too. This is something that you cannot pray this away. Again, oftentimes the damage has been done through a period of many years, an extensive period of time, and there is no enemy. Okay, there's two people that's going to really hurt you in this process. It's going to be your lover, right? The person in your bed, and you're going to hurt yourself. You. the person in your head. The person in your bed and the person in your head. Because you are going to replay things in your mind over and over again. You're going to drive yourself crazy if you don't watch it. And you need an objective third party to help you get through this. Have I gone through counseling? No, I have not. It is something I definitely have to do. So why am I telling you to do it and I haven't done it? Because I know what happens when you don't do it. Okay? So I'm not telling you from a point of being holier than thou. I'm telling you from a point of not wanting you to go through more unnecessary pain because you didn't do it. So it is something that I right now I'm looking into finding. So that's that. Don't, oh my gosh, do not get into another relationship. There is something known as hero syndrome. And y'all, it can happen as early as you calling the cop on the person. The cop who comes to file the report, if you do that, you can look at that cop as your savior, and literally like you're just looking for somebody to help you. And so oftentimes, and there are people, men and women, who prey upon people who have been weakened and broken down by other people. They know how to spot you out. They gonna get you before you get them. Okay, so you cannot afford to jump into another relationship, because half the time you're gonna be in a relationship with the same person. They just have a different face. Especially if you haven't done the counseling part. So please don't get into another relationship. Even if it's another guy or woman who's like, they never should have treated you like that. You a diamond. You a king. You a queen. You a this. I wouldn't do you that. And let me help you. And let me... do not do it. What is that saying? You don't want to jump from the pot to the fire, or the fire to the pot, or whatever the case may be. You don't want to do it. Okay? Don't, if you, oh, I forgot this. If you get into a support group, like an online support group, there are a lot of support groups. I'm a part of a few support groups. Depending on your situation, you might want to get into a support group under an alias. So like if you go into some of these Facebook support groups for divorced moms or bad women or whatever the case may be, you or men, you might want to get in there under an alias, because depending on who the person that you're dealing with, some people are not on social media. If your other person is on social media, they might be in that group too. Now, a lot of groups have it that if you get in this group and you find out that your spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever is in the group, let us know, and whoever came first, they get to stay, or whatever the case. Rules are different for different groups, but sometimes your person doesn't have to be in there. Sometimes it could be their friend, or it could just be, y'all, there are some sick people in the world. There are some spiteful people in the world. And let me tell you something. A lot of times people that have been in abusive situations, guess what they do? They abuse others. The power that was taken from them by the person that they love, they get power from doing harmful things to you. You wouldn't think that would happen, because you would be like, man, we in the same boat. You don't know these people either. I know in the divorced women's group, it's some heifers in there that I'm just like, wow, y'all are ruthless. Y'all are cutthroat. This woman is coming here with her heart on her sleeve, and you're telling her, move on. And you're it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And so what you want to do is, if you really want to think about it before you get into those groups, because you do have to have thick skin to realize that yes, you're going to get some help in there, but then also there are a lot of hurt people in there, and they might hurt you. And one of the ways they might hurt you is by even reporting back to your spouse, reporting back to your husband. I have seen it happen in those groups where they take screenshots from the group and report back. So you might want to get in those groups under an alias. You put up a picture of your cat or your dog, not your face, and have a different name, and then just go in there that way. That way it just keeps everything cool, it keeps everything safe, it keeps everything calm. All right. Another thing that you don't want to do is we're almost to the end, y'all. Don't think you know people. And this is more so for like the aftermath with the family members and the friends. There are some people that while you were with that person, maybe their sister was your best friend. You'd be surprised. He could put his hands on you and your sister be like, my brother would never do that. You trying to ruin my brother's life. And you just like, what? Like, are you serious right now? I was surprised mostly by the response of women. I was really surprised mostly by the response of women. Men are pretty much neutral. They don't like to get involved in things that are too heavy, and like when they say, you know, I'm out of it, they really literally mean that. Like, they're out of it. They won't be how can I say this? In my situation, I found that people that I thought would I was just surprised. I was surprised. I thought there were some people that really loved me and cared about me, and the accusations from them, or how they phrased things, I would say, it really caught me off guard. And I think sometimes that maybe I don't know everything in everybody's life, but I do. Y'all remember that Celie, didn't Celie tell Harpo to be Oprah, right? And so I think a lot of times when women are in bad situations, sometimes they might, if they think your situation is good, they may be jealous, they may be envious, or feel like he's a good man, and then kind of sort of, or like especially older school women, I think that they're so used to abuse, some of them, or abusive situations, that they really feel like it's no big deal. Like, oh, you know, if he didn't do this, then you shouldn't. That's not that big of a deal. I've gone through worse. So that is something that you have to be prepared for. Sometimes your friends ain't your friends. Sometimes your family ain't gonna act like family. And just know that you know, when abuse happens and occurs and you decide to take a stance, just know that it changes everything. It changes everything for you. It changes everything for your children. It changes everything for your family, their family, friend. It changes everything for everybody that you know, have ever known, and that knew the two of you as a couple. It changes everything. And your life may never be the same. And that's something that you have to put up with. That's something that you have to deal with. But at least you'll be living. Because the alternative is you keep everything comfortable for everybody else, and you're dead. So don't think you know, folks, because you don't. Okay? Don't talk about your abuse while your kids are around. Why do you think I'm doing this video while my son is at school? Okay? So, you know, kids are smart. They're not dumb. I don't care if you know, I can remember waking up at night and seeing my mom cry at the table, you know, but aside from that, I didn't have to, I knew because I saw stuff. But even if your kids don't see stuff, they know. Trust me, they know. There are very rare instances where they don't know. And even the kids that you, even if your kid has not seen anything, or it happened one time and then you got out, trust me, there's gonna come a day. There's gonna come a day when your child comes to you, and because they have an inkling, there's gonna come a day when your child comes to you and says, did my dad hit you, or did my mom hit you? So prepare for that day, because it will. And I'm interested to know if anybody cares to share, how have you dealt with that question from your child? If you've ever gotten that question, did my dad hit you? Did my mom beat you? Or did my mom this, or did my mom that? How did you deal with that question? Did you lie, or did you tell the truth, or did you what? I'm very, very interested to know. Y'all probably won't comment publicly, but you can inbox me. I'm very interested to know how you dealt with that question. I know as a child, I definitely resented being told to keep secrets. Because in my mind, I can remember being a little girl and wishing I could beat up my dad. It's not funny. That's a nervous laughter. But I would, because I felt like nobody was defending my mom. So I'm a little girl. He's 6'6", but I really wanted to beat him up. And so to feel like I had to keep secrets for him, why am I keeping a secret for him? That doesn't make any sense. Tell somebody so you can get help. Tell somebody so we all can get help. Shit, he not the one that need defending. Be careful telling your kids to keep secret, because it makes them angry. It makes them angry. So y'all be real careful on that. Be careful lying. Now, you don't want to put it all out there. You don't want to have details, right? But it is something that you need to think about. If you're in that situation, you are not in that situation. See, I'm not getting a lot of comments on these broadcasts, and it's perfectly fine, because I didn't do this for likes or for the Facebook or Instagram or YouTube algorithm. I did this because I felt the need to do it. That video that came out the other day with that man killing his ex-wife, killing his ex-girlfriend, then committing suicide. That's not something on the internet that's so far away from you. I just told y'all 2 instances where something very close to me. One involving a man who's now dead. One involving a woman who's now dead. And do y'all know the gentleman that I talked about, whose girlfriend killed him because he was cheating? To this day, his parents, they never recuperated from that. Financially, they were drained trying to take her to court. Emotionally, they were spent. Like, I have one son. I can't imagine like something like that happening to my son. Should he ever cheated? No. But cheating is not a reason to kill somebody. There's no reason to just remove yourself from situations. But I'm telling y'all, you're not the only one going through it. Your kids are going through it too. Whether they tell you or they speak it, like, it's eventually going to come where they're going to talk to you about it. And you need to go ahead and get in your head what it is you are going to say to help them deal with it in a healthy way. If not, it's going to follow them to adulthood, and it's going to plague their relationships. And I'm telling you, it's just no bueno. You want to break that cycle. The minute you find that yourself in that cycle, break it for your children in as healthy a way as possible. And again, most people don't do this because once they leave that situation, they're just trying to survive. And it's expensive to do things by yourself. And especially if the person is resentful, which they often are, they will hit you and be mad at you for telling. It's crazy. It's super expensive, super stressful. So you ain't trying to think about, hey, how do I do this in a healthy way? It's only recently with Oprah and D0mestic that we're having these conversations at all. Again, this is not the Facebook Live that will be shared. This is not the Facebook Live that people will talk about. And I do not care, because if one person hears it and it helps them, that's all I care about. Because the video that's circulating on the internet about that double homicide, suicide, that's not so far as you think. That could be your family member. That could be your friend. Shit, that could be you. If we really want to talk about it. Yeah, just leave people alone. So now I want to talk about, I said we're almost done, but we really are almost done. But I'm not so much caring about the time right now. I want to talk to, okay, yeah. Okay, good. Now, this last part are just one quick do and 2 don'ts for friends. If you are a friend of somebody in this situation, do and don't do the following things, okay? Let's talk about the don'ts. Do not ask the person, what did you do? I just told your behind, it does not matter. I know men who have literally found their wives in bed with another man. Okay, I have friends who have found their wives in bed with another, like walked into the house from work, found their wife in bed with another man, and he didn't kill her, he didn't kill the guy, he just divorced her and went on about his way. Did it hurt? Yes, but there is nothing to justify. I have male friends that are good guys who have had women dog them out. I have female friends who are good women who have had men dog them out. This is not a man or a woman thing. This is if you got a bad mind, your ass got a bad mind, regardless of whether you're a male or a female. You're just a bad person, or a person who does bad things. Okay? So when I say, like, don't ask them what they did, don't ask the guy what they did, don't ask the girl what they did, because you're basically making it sound like there is something that could justify the violence. Okay? And that is what people fear. They fear how a person is going to interpret their actions. They fear being re-victimized. I've heard people say, oh, he hit you? Well, was it like Ike and Turner? What kind of... Oh, Ike and Tina Turner. What kind of dumb crap is that? Do you mean somebody has to beat you to a pulp for it to be justified in your eyes? here's the bottom line. Nobody should. Again, there's a verbal and emotional abuse. I'm not talking about that right now as much as I'm talking about physical abuse. Or you said, really? Yes, I have heard multiple people say that. Well, was it like Ike and Tina Turner? Like, that's how. And how do you respond to that? I'm more so focusing on physical violence in this video, and I'm going to tell you this. I don't care if the person slapped you, punched you, kicked you, because, see, abusers get very creative with their verbiage, right? I didn't hit her, but he threw you into a wall. Technically, though, he didn't hit you, right? I didn't punch her, but he kicked you in your stomach. What? So when you ask those things and you make people rehash what they went through, it's very insensitive. And it in a roundabout way, is saying to them that there is a reason. There is a valid reason that that could have happened to you. You don't want to do that. Okay? You don't want to do that. Yeah, and the same thing. Don't say, I can't believe he'd do that. Or don't vouch for the abuser. Oh my God, this drives me crazy. Unless you are sleeping with that person, shut your trap. And even if you've been in a relationship with them, don't be like, well, he didn't do me that. Maybe he changed. Maybe he changed. But if you weren't in that person's situation, just shut up. Because you don't know any. I have seen people who work with people be like, he's always a good guy, he come to work on time, everybody love him on the job. Shut up, sir. Okay, first of all, a man is not going to often challenge another man like he's going to challenge a woman. Okay, there are some men who view women as property. There are some women who view their man as property. I've seen women out in public talking to their guy, doing their, you ain't gonna. I've seen women stand over men and like do that thing. I hate all of it. I hate all of it. Now, would that same girl, would that same woman do that to her female friend? If her female friend pissed her off, would she be like, Shanice, you know better than that? It's like, no, she wouldn't. So what your experience has been with somebody as a friend, as a co-worker, it matters not. That has nothing to do with how that person treats their boyfriend or girlfriend, their husband or their wife. Oftentimes, the person that is closest to you is sometimes the person that you hurt the most. I know people who do stuff to their kids that they wouldn't do to nobody else's kid. You beating your kid with a shoe, but you wouldn't beat your boyfriend's daughter with a shoe. How you gonna treat somebody else's child better than you treat your own child? How does that work? But for some people it does. So you need to speak not on those things which you don't know. And you do not know how a person operates in their home. I don't care if they good on the bowling team with you. I don't care if y'all have mimosas every Sunday and they easy like Sunday morning. Her temperament, a lot of times on Snap, that's what they talked about. He had never done this before. And y'all, there are some instances where you have clues, and there are some instances where you do not. There are some instances where somebody is a genuinely good person and something happens. Sometimes they snap, sometimes it is over time. I know of people who changed, their whole temperament changed when they started drinking more. Whole temperament changed. And it was over a period of time. So don't speak about he's always been a good, he's everybody love him. Wow. Just shut up. This does not involve you. So don't make it involve you. I was sitting when I was going through my divorce. I remember hearing, because again, all this stuff is very out in the open. When you go to divorce court, it's not just you and your husband and the judge. No, it's everybody who divorced. And I remember hearing the case of a woman whose husband got with another woman right after she had just had their baby, and he was bringing the other woman to daycare to pick up the kids, and somebody from the dang on church vouched for him. Like, ma'am, you're really vouching for someone who was bringing his girlfriend to church while he was married? Like, that don't even make no sense. And then guess what? I'm not going to say how I know this, but I came to find out later on that she resented her testimony where she stood on the stand and vouched for him, because she later on found out some things about him that was more in alignment with what the ex-wife was saying than the man that she thought she knew just from viewing him in church. See, you should have kept your mouth shut. But you stood on that stand, and in a case with this woman who is divorcing this man who cheated on her and is constantly rubbing his new thing in her face, you vouched for him. Now years later, you regret it, but you can't go back to court and be like, hey judge, my bad. You can't do that. So just shut up. Like, if you're a friend or family member of somebody, don't say, I can never believe that they would do. He wouldn't hurt a fly. You don't know that, Negro. Okay? And I use that loosely because this could go for white people too. But y'all know I was about to say something else, because I'll be getting mad. Abuse is abuse. Though once you allow it and continue, everything eventually gets worse. It really, really does. Because once a person gets away with it on a subconscious level, they know they can get away with it. They know they can tell you whatever. And I don't know what's worse. I don't know what's worse. I don't know if it's worse when a person does it and they instantly apologize, or when they do it and they look at you with a smirk on their face and they have no remorse. I don't know which one is worse. But either way, it doesn't matter. If somebody brings themselves to that point, like, you need to exit stage left. She said, just leave the joker alone, period. Yeah. So, what can you do? And this is the last point that I'm going to make. What should you do as a family member or friend? I will tell you this, like, share a video like this with them. I will say, like, get even if you are not going through this, and I'm glad if you are not and you never have, but even if you're not going through this, outfit yourself with resources, because chances are, like, look up the statistics, there are so many people who do go through this. So you're eventually going to come across somebody who has gone through this, and what you don't want to do is be like, girl, I'll pray for you. Hey, bro, I'll pray for you. People need more than prayers. They need resources. They need information. They need education. So what you can do is you can find out about places in your area like this. You can volunteer at shelters. My sister was doing it for a while. I haven't brought myself yet to go back to a shelter and volunteer. I want to, but I know how my personality is, and I very easily get attached to people. So that's why I know that I'm not ready for that yet. But that is something that I definitely eventually want to do, and I definitely have to make money, because I want to put more resources in place for people like my mom, like myself, like so many people who find themselves in those situations and they don't know what to do. So what they do is they just act like it's not happening, and they just keep ignoring it and suppressing it and letting it go on and on and on. One thing you can do is don't ask a person, what can I do for you? Just do it. Like, give them gift cards. If you know somebody that recently left a situation, give them gift cards to Walmart. You can get everything at Walmart, right? So don't ask them, you need anything? Because they don't want to tell you. Half the time they don't even know how to. Just be like, hey girl, I got this gift card. But like, for me, I routinely go to Publix and I get a pack of Amazon gift cards. Amazon is another good one too. I get a pack of, and they're just $10 a piece. What do I get, like the 4 or 5 pack? I think it's something like that. And throughout the day, sometimes if it's somebody that I see and they look like they need to pick me up, or somebody who's done something especially nice to me, I just give them a gift card and just be like, hey, I just want to really, really let you know I appreciate you, or whatever the case may be. It's the same thing. And I'm telling y'all, even if you don't have a lot, you still have more than another person. When my mom left my dad, as soon as we got our own place and she got on her feet, my mom worked. My mom dropped out of college when she got pregnant with me. Now, she has worked so many jobs, it's not even funny. Multiple jobs at the same time. But what my mom would always do is she would, I remember her bringing other women that were in those situations to the apartment. Like us going to bed, and she had just brought somebody over with their kids, and she would give them a meal. Now, they couldn't stay there, but I remember her doing everything that she could to make the phone calls on that person's behalf, because when you go through this, you're in shock. So something as simple as picking up the phone can feel like it weighs 100 pounds. So a friend to help you call around and see who has openings and see who has this, and that is huge. A friend to look over your resume, a friend to set you up with a job interview, to vouch for you with HR. Again, giving gift cards. You really want to function in that person's life as a resource to really help them get on their feet. Don't ask them what they need. Just kind of sort of take the information I've given you. Take sorry y'all. Take a inventory of how that person is. Tap into your intuition, your God-given intuition, and just do. Don't ask, just do. All right. So this was long, but I feel like it was necessary. Again, this is going to be triggering for some people, so I understand why some people logged off. It took me a long time to even want to do this video, even though I knew I wanted to do it. But you know, seeing that video of the guy on Facebook Live talking about he had just killed his ex-girlfriend, and then seeing him in front of his ex. Oh, that's another thing. That's a major don't that I forgot. Don't let the person know where you live. Do not let the person know where you live. I don't know if y'all know this or not, but when you do a protective order or a restraining order, you know, they don't make that person do any long-term therapy at all. The person usually has to go to a class for a few weeks. They get a certificate, and then they're good. You know, if you keep the charges, you could get the restraining order for longer than a year. But if you drop the charges for whatever the case may be, now that person has access to you again. So that this is, you know, if you've been abused by somebody, and you share a child with them, do not have them meeting at your home. Do not have them even meeting at your family members or friends' home. You meet in a place, the McDonald's parking lot, or a public place, a very, very public, high traffic place, and do that exchange. Because again, a lot of people don't take ownership, they don't take accountability, and they can resent you for a long time for basically not letting them get away with doing whatever the hell they wanted to do to you. So just understand that, you know, it's a very serious situation long after the situation has occurred. And yeah, if they know where you live, move. Is that, you say that like it's so easy, Kim. I know that's how I'm making it sound, and I know it is not, but I'm telling you it's worth it. It's definitely worth it. Okay? So, whoo, this was heavy. So I am going to regroup. And yeah, that's it. I really, really, really hope this helps someone, because I'm telling you right now, whether you know it or not, you know someone who is or has gone through this. Talk to y'all later. Bye.